So just to recap here, we open the source file for the HTML website. We turn that into a set of strings. We skip twice from one to depth day and then the category. That position us exactly on the line where I want to read the categories, the dates. And then I skip again to until I get to data column, which position me exactly on the lines where I have the numbers I need to read. I read row data. I normalize the data by this, multiply by 100,000 and then divide by the nation population. It's kind of very simple implicit for loop for Python, and then return the information, right? And so, yeah, going back to there, here you see that then I loop of this, I do scrape the nation, I give the parameters, I get those two numbers that I wanted, and then I just put them in this case, I get the I put them in the list of the nation data nation as well. So let's finish this part now. Okay, two utility function. One, it's a function that I give a starting line address, and I skip all the lines up to where I find a particular string, right? And then I return, so what I have to move forward, so I return the index of the line where I get the match. So here, this is a really short function, kind of easy to analyze. So this is skip lines. I give the starting line, the lines as a list of strings, and then the string that I want to match. Very simple. No, we don't make any attempt to do fancy optimization. We just loop through all the numbers from I to the length of the list. So we start from the line I and then loop all the way, potentially all the way to the end. And then I will use the string matching function. So if that particular line find a match on the string, then that returns you the position of the match. We just need to know that number is greater than 0 if we had, otherwise it means there was no match. And then we immediately return. So that actually will, since it's a return function, it will return the line number. You see it's returning J. So it finds a match, return the line. It doesn't give you more information, not where in the line the match is occurring. So very simple. And if you go through and you find no match, you will just return it 0 just for cleaning, for having a little bit of clean code. Okay, so very simple utility function, but you don't want to put all this code like 3 times in here. And then if you debug it, you have to copy 3 times. It's good to make it nice, neat utility function. It's nice to think high level, right? When I read this code, I really don't want to be bothered by the detail of this. I just need to assume that I'm able to write this function. We'll focus on that, and then that's what you do, right? And so similarly here, now we need this second utility function, read elements. Again, I'm giving a line that I'm going to work directly. So here I don't need the whole array. I just know already which line I'm working on. And I know that I'm reading a list of values that are, and those I don't need to know even the type of the values. They could be strings, they could be integers. It's not important. But all I know that the only little bit interesting thing is that if they are null, I want to turn them into at 0. So define the function here simply. Here it uses kind of the find function to know exactly when the parentheses occur, and then the end use again the function find to know when the parentheses end. And so with those two instructions, I know the beginning of the end of the list. And then here we just evaluate that string from begin open parenthesis. So it's an eval, so that means you have an open parenthesis. So let's look at here, right? So if you look at this, and again, I'm using the fact that in kind of in a way, we're lucky that this also corresponds to something that, even though this is kind of JavaScript, this would be a valid Python array. So we just read this and evaluate it, and it will just give me an array, a list, and it will just give me a list, right? So this line start end will fetch the string. We're going to replace any potential occurrence of null with a string that is at 0. So this does the job of replacing null. Some other data sets have many nulls at the beginning, so and they also can have them at the end. So those will become 0, and then it just the eval turn that string with the open bracket close bracket into a list, because that's a list in Python. So here is a function that skip lines and return the line where you want to be at. This is the function that opens a line and read a list inside that line, replacing a null value with zeros. With those two utility functions, then scraping the website is kind of very simple. So now let's maybe run again and set some breaking points at the stages. So we start here, obviously start from the COVID data point. Now we are in scrape nation. So let's see. Here we're entering we enter in this particular instance of the function call. The nation name is Italy. That's the first time we call the function. And here we have lines. You see now this is a longer array, a list, where each of this is one of the elements in the HTML file. This is the whole thing. Yeah. Okay. So now, if the value of I, we start with 0, then we want to get to deaths per day. So we call the function lines deaths per day. I is now 1, 2, 3, 5. So let's go and see. 1, 2. So it's giving us the location. Yeah, so here there is a couple of lines. The way this editor is showing, it has a header somewhere. So it seems to be off by 2 lines, but it's actually doing the right thing in terms of, let me see here. I don't know. I don't think it's going to show the thousands of lines. So this is going to only the first few. Yeah, too large. So if we were to show it here, it would be much sooner. Oops. So by here we get the location of that. Then we can skip categories again. So now we have 1, 2, 3, 9. And you see you're still 2 lines behind with respect to what this editor is showing. So here you see that there are those initial 2 lines that are in fact are grayed out that really don't count. Let's look at just to account for everything. And so this accounts for the difference in counting on one side or the other. And so let me see. So here we go to the place of the categories. Now I did. Here you go, 1, 2, 3, 9, which is really in this editor 1, 2, 4, 1. We always have to add 2. Those are things we need to adapt to. And then here we read the categories. You see the category read elements, and we have this list of the dates in the array. Let's see if this is too long to show. Yeah, too large to show. So you show the first 300. Again, COVID has been going on more than a year. So the dates here, you see, it's really day by day. So it's going to be much longer than this. Some limitation of the debugger. And we can verify that those were captured. Then we go farther down. U value as 1280. So let's see, 1280, and then down. So we're down to data null 000. Challenge again of raw data. It's already replacing this. And then we just return. So then we computed normalized. You see now the data, those are becoming floating point number divided by that. So obviously initially those were total deaths, so they can work with integers. Once you divide by the size of the population, you get fractional numbers and so on. And then here you pop out and you see how we have those two values that have been returned, and then they can be added to data nations. So this kind of the vector array and so on. So this is in category here. I'm ignoring it. We'll use it later when we do the actual plots. Okay, so this kind of show how we do step-by-step debugging through the data. And so this gives a sense of the type of work that needs to be done here. And those are just tiny functions that do utility work for us. So let me disable all the all the breakpoint, otherwise it will take forever. And then here we have the data collected. If you go back to the main, instead of collecting just printing just a few numbers, I can print the whole array just to give a sense of what's there. And so we can run it entirely. And so here I have this huge arrays, 1 element per day. Let's go to the top. You see Italy followed by this whole array. And let's see, at some point we should find, yeah, USA, long array, and Brazil. Here you go, Brazil and the long array. If I want to see just the first few elements, I can go back to this print statement that look at the data, and you see at the beginning you have just a few zeros. If you start going from element 20, then the values start to, so Brazil still has 0, has a late start. They didn't get affected by the pandemic very soon. Italy picking up faster. You see there is 0.8 per million. USA, it's still almost 0, but it's growing up. So you can get kind of a sense. And then this is kind of where things are significantly later. And you have the big waves and so on. And so here you see actually Italy already passed the first wave, and the US is in the wave, and Brazil is actually getting a higher wave and so on. So you can look at the numbers in different ways. So you want to combine kind of debugging And so through the debugger with print statements and so on, just to have the information you need. So just in conclusion, basically those two, these two pieces of code, they fit into PowerPoint slide that do the whole work of opening a website, scraping the data, and collecting the number that you need for the plots. In the next videos, we'll show how we can turn those numbers into pictures like this, and then finally how to make those pictures also fully interactive.